What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Repeat.
It's your boy Remy in the motherfucking building. Today's different.
Today's different, bro. It's mad that we gotta get some real shit. We're
You
gonna
know
talk
what?
about some real shit.
This is probably the most fun I had on a pre-talk in a long time.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't dive deep into my rants or our rants.
Yeah,
and, you know, we just
exactly.
kind of stare at each other for a couple of seconds. Everybody's like, huh?
Yeah.
But we had great energy today from none other than Doc herself, daughter of Contrast,
Yes.
is in the motherfucking building. The
What's
CEO
going on?
of Homegrown Aesthetics.
No, you said it wrong.
What did I say?
You said homegrown.
Oh, wait, what is it?
Hoodgrown.
I said homegrown?
You did say
Damn, bro, you missing.
we're hoodgrown here.
Okay. For the audience, I
it's
fucked that up. It's Hoodgrown Aesthetics. Your boy is on one.
Yeah.
It's only 1 o'clock. I'm on one, guys.
It's only 1 o'clock. Yeah, it is.
Hey,
It's
forgive
around
me.
1 o'clock.
Forgive me for fucking. I got yelled at before for fucking up a woman's name.
No, you got my name right.
She was like, don't. I'm a woman in this world. Don't fuck my name up. I was
That's real. That's
My
real.
bad.
I was like, I thought we was cool.
That's real. No, I'm not gonna fight you over it, but it's real. It's Hoodgrown Aesthetic. Yeah.
Hoodgrown Aesthetics is in the motherfucking building. Say what up to the people.
What up, y'all?
And tell the people, for those who don't know exactly who you are, tell us what you do, a little bit about yourself.
All right, cool. I'm daughter of Contrast, also known as Doc. I am the host of Hoodgrown Aesthetic. We are a visual arts podcast that has been around for about 4 years now. Jeez Louise, it's been a while. We just released episode 112.
4 years, so you've seen a lot.
I have seen quite a bit of
And you've been through a
changes.
pandemic.
A pandemic, lots of things in that
I'm trying to think, in those 4
transition.
years, you've seen a lot. And then politically, too.
We've seen a
you've
lot just
seen-
last year, bro. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, you've seen a lot going through the was that the beginning of the Trump era? Or
It was like
before?
right after he got elected, we started.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was fun times.
And you guys you didn't bring that up much, huh? You didn't really.
I mean, I definitely am political in a sense that it's very clear that I'm very liberal and leftist, and you know, I refer to Dummy Donnie. You know, that's
Dummy
how
Donnie,
that's how
yeah.
I refer to him.
I refer to him as ASAP Trumpy. Cause remember because he freed
ASAP
ASAP
Trumpy.
from like Sweden or whatever. That was
Yeah.
that was
He
my
tried.
that was my favorite moment of his
Yeah.
political career. Right
Yo,
there.
he been wanting to fight Joe Biden in a boxing match. I'm
Has
like,
he?
Yeah, bro. He said he called him out. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna fight him. I'm like,
That's
what?
death, bro. It's like two old dudes going.
That's what I'm
They're
saying.
like
Like,
both in their 70s.
that's what I'm saying. They
Like
both
late
gonna
70s
collapse
too.
by the time- They both gonna throw a punch and just fall down.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Joe Biden fell asleep in a meeting the other day.
Did he?
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
it was on air.
Oh
he fell
my
asleep.
god! Yeah, I won't lie. I leaned to the left, but I did not vote for that guy. I did not. I was not.
Biden?
Yeah.
I mean, like, let's be real. I think that local elections are really what matters.
More so than, yeah, absolutely.
And we are now, you know, dealing with our own mayoral
We,
race.
yeah,
Big time.
we are like a weird, confused, like
Yeah, because
This is the first
musical
time
chair.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever been in Boston where there's actually like a mayoral,
like, because the
Competition.
seats,
yeah, like,
Yeah, like,
there's
it's
never
never-
been
Yeah.
an election for
It's,
this shit.
Right.
it's always been who's the oldest white man? Get him. Got
because
him.
Janie ain't like, you know, she's the acting maid, but she gotta get elected first.
Yep.
That's why it's like it's really gonna be interesting these next couple of days and like,
Yeah.
weeks what we see throughout the city change.
Well, I'm hearing that. Let me stop lying. I read an article that was saying Wu is winning right now.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, she's looking like a favorite.
I've seen that too.
that's.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's crazy because it's basically all women.
The fact that,
That-
it's all
that are-
people of
yeah.
color,
Yes,
Yeah.
crazy.
except for the Asian lady. Do we consider her people of color?
Yeah, she's a part of people of color.
I did not know that. I am.
Yeah.
That's a minority group.
It's a
usually.
if you're not white, you're someone of color.
I consider them white though. I mean,
You mean just because of their complexion?
Yeah, I
You
mean-
realize there's black Asians, like dark skinned Asians.
yo, I have not seen a dark Asian in my.
Have you been like?
Are
Have you
you
seen
serious?
anyone in like the Philippines? They got dark.
Cambodia?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
Those
know
are
what
like
I'm
the
saying?
Mexican Asians. That's.
What the fuck are you saying? The Mexican Asian.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But no, I'm learning so much. This is. I'm learning so much. Thank you for coming on the show and
I am
cleaning
the
us up.
educator.
That's
It's
what I'm
my
saying. We
job.
ain't even like
'Cause
5 minutes in.
no,
she already schooling
I
your
really,
ass.
I really have. I didn't know that. I would consider, you know.
Yes.
So it's not culture appropriation when they own hair stores and like
I mean, that's
In the hood?
That's another discussion.
that's another discussion.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
because I'm like that if they're like, yo, we people of color too. We want to sell do rags
I
and
mean, yeah,
And fake nose earrings?
That's another discussion.
Nah, I feel like you just gotta like sell within
Asian
like
people sell?
no, well, it's in like within your boundaries. You know what I'm saying?
No, they own. I didn't know this. They own most of the
Oh yeah.
Oh,
the hair stores.
Oh yeah.
Like when I go get my do rag, I'm like, one day I'm like, there's mad Asian people here. Then I walk in the next day and it's mad women of like black women. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
They smart though. They do that so you can shop there.
Well, yeah, because they get all them products for like next to nothing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
because they get it imported a lot
Right.
of the time. So.
Exactly.
So you started about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And what made you think? Let me hit a podcast. People want to hear. What made you think that people want to hear you talk for an hour? Because I remember when I started trying to start doing podcasts, I'm like, an hour?
Fresh off the stage.
Yeah, fresh off the stage podcast, which is fire. I go back and watch it while I'm high, and I love it. And maybe I'm just a fan of myself, but I love myself. I'm hilarious. But what made you want to start that 4 years ago?
Well, I was just coming back to Boston. I lived in New York for 5 years while I went to college.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Boston.
Oh, then you went to New York?
I went to Boston School of Design. You know, I had to get fancy.
Oh, okay.
I
All
got
this
2
forgiven.
little degrees.
Ooh, hey, they big,
like
they big
this,
pimping.
like,
They big pimping.
Yeah, they were cute. Little diplomas. But I wanted to come back here to do grad school, and I also wanted to teach in BPS, being a BPS student myself, a product of it. I was thinking about teaching in New York, but it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
I wanted to teach with my kids, my community, and I think I made the right choice. But I was doing a dual degree program, so I was in school for 5 years. And my last year, I was connecting a lot with my best friend, and it was just like, we need to do something when I get back. Like, I'm not just, going to grad school and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
I need to do something to connect with the arts.
Were you doing anything in New York at the time?
I mean, I was in a lot of, like, art shows. I was showing my work a lot. I was, I was modeling a lot, so that got some exposure as well. I was working in museums. I was getting, also my education. I was learning a shit ton about art. I was being so exposed to it through all of the beautiful museums in the city.
What was one of your favorite, if I might ask?
My favorite museum is the Brooklyn Museum still, but there is something dreamy about the Met, I would have to say. It feels like you're in another world.
Because it's just like, it's the fact like, damn, it's the Met.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's just being like at
The
one of those
ambiance.
iconic places like that. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, the Metropolitan Museum of
Art,
Art. It's beautiful. But yeah, and I started with a co-host. I started the podcast with a co-host, and, we did it for 2 years, and we did really great together. And, she needed to step back from the project and do something on her own, and that was fine.
But you continued.
I continued. It was something like I needed to keep doing. I didn't feel like I was done, especially because at that point, we were doing so many talks at like colleges and talks at, events and hosting shows and, getting our voices out there in a really particular way. And
Because the look really worked when it's, two women. I feel like that's very empowering, because you don't see teams of women a lot.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, and I could be wrong, but a lot of times you see dudes teaming up and working together. And you see, collaborations and stuff like that. But I feel like it's hard to look up and see a female, two female podcasters together. And then that's so dope being able to go talk to other women and talk at schools. Well, that's what I'm assuming you're doing. I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, and my team is mostly female. I mean, we have
one male,
we
right?
have one male on the team, which is also great to have another perspective. And, when she decided to leave, it was also the time when we started developing a team, so it was kind of an okay transition for me. And the interviews just got kind of longer, deeper. I enjoyed speaking with those folks for longer. And then it kind of developed from there, and the segments kind of, still stay there, but, things shift a little bit. And, yeah, it's been...
And you have a very specific niche. I think so. I feel like there's nobody else in your lane. I feel like when I look at, like, we have, we do Say That podcast, which is amazing. The most hospitable podcast in motherfucking
It's your favorite Sunday
Boston.
show. Don't say this.
Say that. But I feel like you could look over to a lot of cities and a lot of places, and you'll see three other dudes doing a podcast. So you'll see music podcasts or only rap. And we try to never do only rap, but you'll see a lot of rap
Right.
podcasts. And
Because you got to stay different, especially in like the podcasting game with that.
absolutely. And what happens is, not to be an asshole, but you hear a lot of the same stories.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're just branching into the same group of people, you're going to get the same stories and kind of the same style. And it gets boring.
I mean, like, I'm a huge true crime podcast person.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
But that's what
like,
I'm saying. How many
all-
crimes can they keep being?
There's so
Oh, the
many,
crimes, yeah.
they repeat themselves all the time. But I'm
Right.
like, let me hear this different rendition of this
Yeah.
crime. Maybe I'll hear a detail I didn't hear in the last one. It might be interesting.
That's why I got out of sports podcasting though too. I had one in college, but I'm like, there was like 3 other people doing the same thing, and in sports, everybody's talking about the same thing. You go and hear about the trade from X, Y, and Z, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't know. I'm kind of done with that.
But your niche is so specific. Why? How did it get to that point? How did it get to the point where you're really bringing in these artists and this art form, and then traveling for art, and kind of in the city of Boston, where I'm like, I just don't see it. You know what I mean? I don't see people asking for it and wanting it, but somehow you are now on a 4-year run all by yourself in a lane by yourself.
I mean, there are other art podcasts out there, but all the other art podcasts, I only know of one based in Louisiana that features artists of color and talks to visual artists of color. Studio podcast, shout out to them, super dope.
Shout out Studio Podcast.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, when I was, like I said, going back to college and when I was learning about, artists, I was presented with a lot of Black and brown artists that I didn't know about in high school. When I was learning about art, I was learning about, Michelangelo, Andy Warhol is contemporary, Jackson Pollock.
White people.
White men
That's
specifically.
White men. Because that's who ruled the world too at the time.
Yeah, they still do. It's a little bit changing, but they still do. But yeah, and I wasn't exposed to artists that looked like me until I was an adult, and I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
So wait, other people do this shit too?
Like and there's more than just, local artists out there. There's amazing artists that are like killing it and like, putting their work in amazing museums, and their work is being featured doing like awesome stuff in public arts and all these things. So for me, I just wanted to speak to artists that may not have ever gotten asked, why do you make the work you make? As young artists, emerging artists, we're not spoken too much. Like you said, there's a lot of podcasts around musicians and actors and things like that.
Yeah,
Because,
the coolest people think we consider cool.
yeah, and people that talk a lot.
Yeah. People that love the attention.
Yeah, and not to say that visual artists don't enjoy attention. I think that some do, especially the performance artists out there.
You said that very, very intentional.
I just know some performance artists that are a little pretentious. But
There's a
anyway.
little ecstasy feeling on themselves. That's what I picture. That's what I'm like. Those dudes or women look like they love the attention. Like they want to be the center of the attention. Yeah, I
Of
love it.
course.
Yeah, and it just
Especially
wasn't.
performance art.
Definitely performance art. It's just
Yeah.
a different form of visual art. It's a crazy group of people there. Love them, but yeah. It was just like being in a art school in college and being in art school in high school and being art school for grad school. I wasn't. I felt like folks were thinking it was a niche other than like the one class I took that was like about African American art. All my other professors that I had some white professors that just didn't teach about black art and art by people of color.
Did you know at the time while you were being taught this, like were you aware enough to be like, damn, every person that we're looking to is white?
Yeah. And like it is kind of surprising too because I went to a Boston public school where most of my teachers were people of color, but it's just the way that there's just not as much exposure and detail around, artists of color, especially local artists. I did not know you can make a living as an artist and not have your work, being sold for millions of dollars. I didn't realize there was an in-between.
There was in between. And same thing for like rap and
Yeah.
any other profession, people forget that. Like, I don't got to be a millionaire. I got to be able to pay my rent first.
Yeah, and that's it. And that could be it. And that could be fine.
Yeah, and you're alive and you feel
Yeah.
alive as an artist.
And there's many artists just like that making amazing, amazing work, and they're not being spoken to. And, you know, the pandemic has opened up a lot for me. It's allowed me to, you know, do interviews across the country. But, you know, whenever I go anywhere, I think about the art. And so that's like when, you know, we went to Cuba and we decided to interview an artist there and go to a museum and see all the art there.
How was Cuba crazy?
Yeah, Cuba's beautiful. It's gorgeous there. I mean, I got scammed once.
You got scared? Yeah, you got
But down there, though, you're going to get scared.
Yeah.
And when you go outside the country, they got good scammers.
No, I was in Havana, and like the thing is, I was tight too because it was like an Afro-Cuban that scammed me.
Oh, he
I was
got
like,
you.
I was like, really, bro?
Wait, was he handsome? Was he good looking? Is that how he got you?
Nah. So here's the thing: we were just in a taxi getting home from like, you know, this art club. We were literally at an art club. Like that's how.
That sounds lit.
Boo.
No, it was like this giant factory. Every room had like beautiful art, but then there was like crazy music and bars in every room. Like it was gorgeous.
Wow.
That's so fun.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah, it was dope. It was dope. There was like DJs in different rooms and all this other stuff. It was super dope. But yeah, we were on our way home, and like the way the money works there, right? There's like actual like dollars, and then there's like every kind of money is pretty much paper. There's little coins, but there's like a purple version of a 20, and then there's like a green-red version of a 20.
Oh, shit.
The
Okay.
green-red one is like worth $20 essentially, but then the purple one is kind of like...
They're 20?
No, it's like 2 cents or something. It's like 20 cents. Like
some
paper is cents.
And you're probably faded.
Yeah,
You're
I was.
You're probably drinking. You're like,
So
all right,
this-
green means 20.
Yeah, so
purple means.
I knew I had the green one in my hand when we got in the taxi because I was like, this ain't gonna cost more than 20. We're good. And then like I hand it to him. He hands me back a purple one and goes, "This is what you gave me." I said, "Excuse me." No, I didn't. And that was the scam.
At least you got it right. I would have threw something in the car, spilled something.
Nah, but like all of us had to scrounge up the rest of our like the green red monies to get it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just freaking out. I'll give you my earrings.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm
I don't
American.
know what I'm supposed to do.
I would have said, I'm American. Let me in.
But other than that, it was beautiful. The art's beautiful. The weather's beautiful. The people are beautiful.
And you said you've always went to art schools. Mm-hmm. Is that crazy? Because from the outside looking in, the way that, at least for me, art was perceived as I got older was like, artists are crazy, writers are crazy, painters are crazy.
Like mad scientists.
You know, they're crazy sexual, they're crazy alcoholics, they're on the pills, they're on this. Tell me the truth. How was what was the crazy? Did you see a bunch of crazy shit going to art school?
I mean, I didn't mention this. I also went to boarding school, which was an art school.
They took you where at?
So I went to Oxbow School. It's a boarding school in Napa, California.
Oh, this one's
Napa Valley.
This one's a fancy one.
Home of wine.
I was
Think
on
he's up.
scholarship. Let's
Oh
be real.
no! That's just how it was.
So, that program was like a $30,000 program for
In high school.
Jesus.
and everyone was paying like crazy cash.
Son, you got to pick one. Either there's a private school and then no college.
Nah, but I got a crazy scholarship, right? So I went for the year and like it was dope. But you know, like kids were getting kicked out for smoking, for drinking, for doing crazy shit. And like that was just not. I was like, I'm not.
Was it all girls?
Y'all.
Was it all girls, all boys?
No, it was mixed. It was co-ed.
I said all boys.
Yeah, it was all boys.
Yeah.
I was there.
That's
So
what,
the scholarship you had to be a man, so we just said fuck it. We were
I
so
just
poor.
figured it out. I figured it
So we were
out.
so poor. I just lied to
That's
say
why
I was a
shaved
man.
my head.
Yeah.
Learned to stand and pee. That was the greatest skill I ever got.
Hide it from my roommates. It was
Oh
crazy.
my God. And is it different? I know, and I don't know shit, but being a woman in that culture, how is it? Is it a culture that's I do comedy, and I feel like comedy isn't super welcoming depending on where you go to women. Women comedian, women audience members. Because I feel like, you know, men will joke and laugh about some shit that I'm like, that's not even a joke. You're just saying you're gonna kill a woman. You're not. That's not. There's no punchline like that.
Yeah.
You're just violent.
Yeah, you're just saying something violent,
You
bro.
just have
Like,
hatred at that point. You're like, you're
It's
not
just
making
a
a joke.
misogynistic demon.
exactly. Is it like that in the art world?
Like yes and no. For one, like art institutions are mostly made up of women. Most of the students are women. However, the actual like field is dominated by men.
That's
So
intriguing.
yeah, and I would say, you know, being a person of color is even more, you know, standoutish than being, you know, a woman in the field.
Yeah.
Particularly the type of visual art I do myself. I'm a sculptor, and not many women are in that field or women of color. So I did have to make space for myself in a lot of ways in studios. You know, I worked in a wood shop, I worked in a metal shop, and I like would teach like, you know, when I was in undergrad, I was teaching like grad school white men how to weld, and they would like question me and be like, "Are you sure you know what you're talking about?"
They was questioning you while they were learning.
Yes, and I'm like, but
One thing that men got is the nerve. One thing.
Yeah, y'all gotta take it. You gotta take a step
Men-
back at some point.
men
and
got
be like,
motherfucking
"Listen, I
nerve."
didn't teach
it's
that."
like you realize I get paid to be here, right? So like I think I know what I'm doing. So like just always having that kind of like making it clear that I'm strong enough to be here, and I think that's something that's not understood in visual art, that you kind of have to be physically strong in a lot of ways, and mentally.
No, yeah.
It's for criticism. But like for me, like, you know, being a welder for, you know, 4 or 5 years in college, being, you know, in the wood shop, like I couldn't be dainty in a lot of ways. Like I couldn't do that. I felt a certain way if like I had like one other female coworker that was my age, and she was like, I refuse to go on tall ladders. So I was like, bitch, what? I guess I have to get on all the fucking tall ladders to prove a point.
The
like,
bitch I refuse to go on tall ladder.
So I'm like 5'2", and she's like 6. She's like 5'7". Like you're already tall. Like you should be fine. But I'm 5'2", standing on like a 6-7 foot ladder, being like, I could do it. Like,
trying to save all women.
I'm like, I can prove it.
I remember I dated a tall woman, and everybody gave me shit for it. Everybody was like, yo, she's taller than you. I'm like, dude, I can tell. I gotta sleep with the woman. I know that she is taller than I am.
Yeah, but there ain't anything wrong with that though.
I'm
Ain't-
jealous of tall women.
I want to ball with her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let's ball
I
up.
guess I want to ball with her. I like tall. I
Being
mean,
a
I just
pole
like
site.
women. I don't understand. Since high school, when people would tell me like, oh, I have a preference, I don't date X. I don't date X, Y, and Z. I was like, I'll date whoever like me. I don't got that many options right now. Right now it's the tall and the bald and the ugly and the short. It's whoever's gonna hang out with this man right now.
But tall women have such a
The aesthetic.
I think they're beautiful in the sense that they have like a domination, like a way of like kind of presenting themselves in a really, maybe it's just because I'm short and I look up to them and I'm like, wow.
No, but you're right though. You're right though. Like that dominating presence, and it's not one that you always get. Even there's some female who are like, you know, maybe 5'5" and still have that like kind of big body, and they you know they feel dominant.
Yeah.
A man sometimes want to be dominated. Everybody come, you know what I mean? You're like, yo, I want a strong woman who can work in the fields with me.
Yeah,
It's
I wish I
independent.
could. I wish I could, because, you know, being a teacher and having these tall ass kids, having to talk up to a student.
Yeah, sometimes they be young. Like I'm 16, 6'1". You're like, yeah, niggas.
I had one
It's like,
kid
damn,
come in.
what you
Yeah,
eating?
I had one kid come the other day with the deepest voice I've ever heard in my life. He said, "Hi, miss." I said, "What? Who are you? How old are you?"
What grade you teach?
High school, 9 to 12.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah,
he was
so you
like,
all-
he's 15. I was like, what?
Do you ever get confused as a student? Do you ever confused?
My
as a student?
first year, you know, one of the students came up to me because I was going up to Miss Murphy. And I was getting my schedule. They came up to me and they were like, "Why are you so dressed up?" Like one of the students asked me that. And I was like, "Oh, I thought this was like a good first day outfit."
Yeah.
Like I didn't even think
You didn't think she was
Yeah,
calling
I
you to
didn't
have a
think she
friend.
was saying that like, "Oh, you're dressed up for school as a student." And then we both walked into the same classroom because
That's
it was
hilarious.
my classroom. And I stood up at the main table and she was like, "Oh." And I was like, "Yeah, so what's your name?" And she was just like, "Oh, okay." But Not anymore, thankfully.
It's definitely happened to me. Definitely, because I think I've been there. This is my third year. Yeah. My first year, the same thing. I would be walking to the bathroom and some adult was like, "Yo, little man, let me get your pass. Hey, little man, you can't be your phone too. Put your." I'm like, I get paid
Like,
more.
hey,
I get paid more. Don't talk to me like that.
Like,
But that's why I learned you have to
That's
dress
funny
the
as
part.
shit.
Because sometimes I do dress like a high schooler sometimes.
I mean, I stay wearing sneakers.
Well, because I be seeing these other teachers. I'm like, he got flip-flops on.
Yeah.
This man has his toes out on a Tuesday.
yeah, very rarely my teachers came in like dressed up with like a tie and shit like that.
We
Like
got,
I was just like,
a mandatory dress code. Or something.
Yeah, it's like a dress code. I just wear... I got like 3 outfits that I wear for work. I just I try not to stress the work outfit because I'm like, this is the last place.
did you have to wear a uniform in high school or some shit?
There was 1 year they tried to make us wear
Oh,
one
I see.
in high school.
Yes.
Yeah, and I went to English. It was 1 year.
Yeah.
And it went so bad.
I
It went
hated
so
wearing
far.
school uniforms, like just through middle school, and then I was like, that's why I had to go to a public high school. I'm like, I can't be doing this.
I'm lazy. I wear whatever. I don't even care.
I feel like I would have liked it if I had a uniform. Like the fact that I didn't have to think about it. Like
And a lot of things have
plan that
changed
shit out.
since high school, and now in the arts field, you have NFTs.
I don't get those at all, bro. I just don't.
I kind of get them because it's like blockchain art or some shit, and so it's very unique, and there's only a specific amount of these art coins or tokens, but they're being sold for crazy amount
Mad
of money.
Like even like private companies doing it too. I'm like, bro, what even is this?
Now, how
Like,
do you feel about the arts going from something that was not solely paper and stuff like that, but being painted and sculpted to now being sold online for hundreds of thousands of dollars?
I mean,
And it's not physical either, too.
Yeah.
It's not physical art.
It's not physical. I've seen some artists that I like make these kind of works, and it's very different from their own work. Because I still don't think we quite understand the medium yet. I'm not a digital artist at all.
Yeah,
Right?
She said, I know how to use
Yeah,
Word,
nah.
and that's it on the computer.
Like I learned the Zoom situation, and that's it. I'm a builder. I make things with my hands. But this commodification of art is nothing new, right? Like Sotheby's, which is a big auction house in New York that sells, Basquiat's for, $108 million, something like that, when the man was, just a young kid making, a graffiti artist, That's what he started as, and then his work is being sold for that much after his passing.
That's a crazy inspiration, though.
Yeah, it would be nice, though, if an artist that was alive was making that type of money.
You heard it.
That's fun. No, but she's right, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get, like, I understand the value that gets placed on a person after he passes, but just
That's
place
on
the-
everything, though. Music,
But just
too.
put the value on him while he's here.
Yeah.
You know.
When they can use it.
Well, I think I'm not to play devil's advocate, but I see both sides. If you're alive and you're still making paintings,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's almost like, well, there's a chance that we're gonna get a different one from you. If you're dead, this is now one of a thousand of a certain amount of that is here, and there's no more being made.
I mean, it's like the same thing with Bitcoin, right? It's the idea that there's less and less of them out
Yes.
there, and then they raise the value, right?
Exactly.
So I feel like that's the connection there. That it's not far fetched
It's
from
not far-fetched from
what it was.
Physical art.
Yeah. The commodification of art is just like, well, it's you just have to deal with it. It's how you make. I mean, there's lots of dealing with collectors, dealing with people that buy art is very different. I'm on the board of a gallery and dealing with folks that come in.
How's that?
I love being able to present work and, choose work to be in spaces, and being able to be a part of a group of artists that really believe in showing art is really great. But the idea that some folks come in and they are here to buy art, you become kind of a seller in some ways. And, I've worked in galleries when I lived in New York, and, I've had my hands on, Andy Warhol paint,
Big names?
Yeah, like big works like that were crazy expensive work. But the type of people that buy art, you wouldn't see necessarily hanging out with a group of artists.
No, yeah, because it's like that with any like collectors in general. I feel like they don't care like
Yeah.
necessarily like the story or something behind
So
it. They
where
just
does
want
the
it.
connection come from? Like because they're so opposite, but there has to be something connecting the people that buy the art and people that make the art.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely think there's an aesthetic that folks look for, right? I'm using that word, like, very purposefully, right? The aesthetic is just, like, how something looks, right? You're enjoying what something looks like and, or feels like, or, you know, what the sense of it is. And, you know, top artists now, especially, like, black artists that are kind of making waves, like Hindi Wiley, Amy Sherald, like, Carrie James Marshall. These types of artists are actually, like, you know, collectors are actually buying their work. But unfortunately, the way that those things happens is that those works will be, you know, made by these artists and they were bought at an earlier time. And then, you know, now they're blowing up because, you know, Kehinde Wiley did the beautiful portrait of Barack Obama, and you know Amy Sherald did the beautiful image of Michelle Obama for the National Portrait Gallery.
Which were crazy.
Yeah.
At first, I had no idea who you were talking about, but then you said the Barack Obama and the Michelle.
Yeah.
Nah, I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, so that's my point. Now that those two
Yeah.
are blowing up and they have a very particular style and aesthetic, you can see that work and be like, oh, that's a Carrie James that's a Kehinde Wiley, that's a Amy Sherald, because of the way that they paint and the way their aesthetic is. So those people who bought their work maybe 10 years ago start to put them on auction houses. And then they get a shit ton of money from it because the work is really valuable.
Because it's like their investment blew up.
Yeah. So a lot of art collectors, some of them like it for the aesthetic. Some of them are looking at it as an investment.
Yeah, because they're like, well, I love this, and hopefully your career blows up and this triples in value. That's great. And there's it's not like
none of
music.
that money goes to the
I was just, it's not like there's no royalties. There's nothing crazy where, when every time this is sold, I make a 3% on it.
It's fucked up.
Yeah,
it really is.
There has to be. You have
It's
to
tough
create
to
that
regulate
system.
too, though. I feel like it's a little bit tough to regulate because, like, let's say, like, you know, the seller sells it and the guy's not even aware it's being sold. Like, how do you tell the artist that your art is now being sold at maybe like this place or that place?
You have to have like a kind of system in place where, like, you know, some kind of ticketed system,
Something like that. But it's
something
just
like every
like,
time this is being sold, it has to be signed by the artist, and then it gets, well, I don't know, like when you sell a house or something, I don't know, Wes.
But that's like with architecture, right? It's not like the architect, you design one building, the next time it gets sold, you're not going to be like, let me get a little bit more of that now that the market's going up and y'all like my shit. I wish it was. I wish that was the way it worked. But unfortunately, you know, that's how the art world works. So, you know, if you find the work of some local artist that you love, hold on to it. Keep a hold of it. Maybe buy two. Just in case.
And
oh, absolutely. You gotta
you see a lot
believe in local art.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of young people now getting more involved into the arts? Because I feel like, and we spoke about this, there's like a little renaissance of art. And I feel like, you know, for the last like 5 years, Jay-Z's been trying to bring it into the conversation of, hey, art can make you money and it will make artists money.
He was just posted up, him and Beyonce, with like some unreleased, forget the artist, Basquiat painting. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, because you never see another, like, big-time artist do that. Like, it's all more for, like, clothes and stuff like that. It's not more, like, pieces.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a renaissance happening now, especially around artists of color. And, yeah, a lot of love is going towards Basquiat. You know, he is a... You know, they just had the show.
He's like the LeBron James.
Yeah, and there's a long story behind him and his work. You know, I like some of his aesthetics. Some of it I'm not drawn to completely. I think that, you know, Andy Warhol unfortunately had a big deal with his, you know, career and decided what he wanted to do with him, and that just kind of shows the power of a white man and all this other stuff.
To explain that, because I don't get it. I'm not in that realm.
So, you know, Jean-Michel Basquiat was a graffiti artist, as I mentioned. He worked with a lot of graffiti artists, and a lot of graffiti artists that stayed fairly underground for a while. And, you know, like Fab Five Freddy and, like, you know, they weren't getting the love that, you know, being shown in a gallery right, in the 80s in New York.
Yeah.
They were making stuff on, subways and doing their own underground type of,
And this
shows.
was when they were serious.
Yeah, and that's when they were like young. They were in their 20s doing it and killing it. And then Andy Warhol saw, Basquiat's work, brought him into brought him into a studio and started kind of showing him more traditional kind of painting materials, and he transitioned his style into that. And I'm not giving Andy Warhol any credit for Basquiat's career. Basquiat did that all by himself, but he definitely was a chosen one in a lot of ways. And I think of that myself as well, being, he's biracial, he's, half Haitian, half Puerto Rican. And he's fair-skinned, and, I think of myself often as, I'm biracial, white and black, and, being, light-skinned, you think of your light-skinned, there's a lot of light-skinned privileges that I live with, and I take advantage of that, and I think that he might have been chosen because of that. Fab Five Freddy, another artist I mentioned, he's a fairly dark-skinned man, and he didn't get that backing the way that other artists did until a little later. So there's all that politics to, his work. And, there's, it's awesome that, Jay-Z is bringing attention to his work, or artists like Swiss Beats is bringing attention to, contemporary artists. And I think that's the point. We should get it towards contemporary art. And Basquiat, yes, is a modern artist, but he's not a contemporary artist. So, yes, he's recent, but he's not living in here and making, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we forget that often. The 80s feel like a reachable point for us, but at the same time, that was 40 years ago.
I was going to say, that's like, the
That's
2000s is far to me.
That's getting there. 2000s is getting
2000s
is
like
scary
far.
shit.
I'm like,
That's scary shit.
Yeah,
I'm like,
so it was a while ago that he was living and making. And, now it's great that so many young artists are able to make and do and, get their work out there. Thank God for social media, because, you can get your work out there. There's, artists that, they're 16, 17 making, art in their basement, and they're able to have 20,000 followers on Instagram or whatever it may be.
And just sell, and you can sell.
And you can sell your work. You can make prints a lot easier, and that's awesome, right? That's making the idea of artistry and entrepreneurship possible.
Right.
And it's almost like the
That's
Basquiat shadow is killing the generation's time now. That's kind of what I'm getting from the vibe, is like his shadow, him being so great in his story now being kind of plastered everywhere, is covering up the young artists trying to grow now, and the attention from the young artists that are growing now, right?
Yeah, he's definitely ideal inspiration. We should all look towards him and understand his story and know it, right? But that's not to say that, Coach should be doing a line with him right now. Who is that money going to? His foundation? I'm sure the Basquiat Foundation is doing great things, and they're able to do great things. But
They got the money. They ain't stressing.
Yeah.
They ain't stressing.
They're not.
They're going to be rich forever,
they're
just
fine.
off his name alone.
Yeah, they have a copyright on his specific kind of crown that he used to draw. So no one even doing things like that is again commodifying and making art such a business when you think about trademarks and
It's almost like the rich get richer.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
That's the art world. Yeah.
It's like what they say about soccer. I remember that there was a big thing when they made that big league of all the top rich teams. It was made by the poor, stolen by the rich type shit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then in art's probably the number one thing, just throughout time. Oh, that's been the case.
Yeah, and we think of institutions like galleries, like I mentioned, some galleries are great. The one I'm on the board of is great, the Piano and Craft Gallery over on Tremont Street. You should check it out. It's an amazing gallery run by artists, and that's the point of it. But there's obviously...
What's it called again? Plug it in again.
The Piano and Craft Gallery.
The Piano and Craft.
Yeah.
Gallery.
Go enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful gallery.
She's giving out discounts.
It's free. It's free to go in.
That's how much of a discount. 100% off when you get there.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Doc.
Just go see some art, some free art. It's awesome. But it's great that we're able to showcase young artists. Recently we did a show with Chanel Thurville, and she had a group of her students from the Elliott School. So we actually had JB, one of our students from English,
nice.
showing his work in a really beautiful
in
gallery.
a real gallery too.
And he was so proud of himself.
How old is he?
He's 17, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Wow,
was
God
so
bless.
proud.
That gets you ready for bigger moments.
Yeah, like when I walked in the room, he was like, Miss Bennett. I was like, oh my God, it's so great to see you. And he was able to talk to like amazing artists like Paul Goodnight, which is like an icon in the city of Boston. He's an amazing, amazing visual artist. He, you know, has work that was his work in the 90s. His work really blew up in the 90s. A lot of his paintings were seen in a lot of TV shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's
Oh,
in
it's serious.
their mansion.
shit.
His stuff was in Living Single.
Wow.
I think he was in Martin.
These are some iconic
too.
shows.
Yeah,
Oh my
like-
God!
these are
Wow.
hits.
Yeah, like he was in like all of them. Like, yeah, his work is amazing. I have one of his prints in my classroom. So like he was able to just like talk to him, and I was like after he talked to Paul Goodnight, I was like, do you know who you just spoke to? Like, do you get how big of a deal this is? And it's just like awesome to share those kinds of moments with young artists, and
Yeah.
you know, those are kind of opportunities I didn't have 10 years ago. So it's great to see these shifts happening and just opening up doors. But like I'm saying, like, you know, other galleries are going to still commodify an artist, and, you know, they'll take 40-60% of artwork.
God
Yeah.
damn.
When
That's just too much at
Yeah.
a certain point.
that's a lot, and that's why art is sold for so much, because like an artist, if you're telling an artist they worked on this painting for, you know, 4 or 5 months, right? It was that detailed, it's that large or something, and you know, a gallery sells it for 10,000. You might think it's crazy, right? But at the same time, you're thinking, like, the
That's
artist
no
is
money,
like, yo,
yeah.
that's only 6,000. How am I gonna cover my
and
rent?
then you
Is
gotta
that gonna cover
pay
it?
taxes right on that money.
So, and then like the gallery's taking, you know, 4,000 of it, and you're like, okay, like it's not
Yeah.
that much for me in the end.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah, it's thankfully the way things are shifting, it's more in favor to the artists, and a lot of galleries are kind of closing.
Now, do you tell your young students this type of stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Because like, I know, like, recently, and like you said, now that it's shifting, we're kind of seeing that shift, and just talking to different people, like, who are like yourselves, as teachers, to younger students. They're saying, like, oh, well, I didn't have this knowledge. Let me go get this. But why do you think that, like you said, they're not willing to believe in young artists just yet? They're not willing to, like you said, like you put a 17-year-old with a Boston art legend. That might not happen in, like, a bigger gallery. So what do you think, like, maybe is the reason for it? Is it like, oh, they improve themselves, or you think maybe they just don't even want to?
I mean, I think there's a lot to young artists in any field, right? You just need time to marinate, right? You need
Right.
time to get better. And obviously there is raw talent that can be discovered at 17, 18, or whatever it may be. But I'm not saying education is necessary in the arts, but I think experience is, and time with a medium and figuring things out. I think you can often tell when an artist just jumped into it and they're like, I realized I can draw. It's like, I think you need to like think a little bit harder, figure things out.
He says there's actual talent. You need actual skills. You have to learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talent and skill is definitely different in the art world, I would say. But yeah, when I was, 17, I was only showing work in, school spaces. Thankfully, I went to a school that had a beautiful professional gallery in it. Which
I'm
was
like,
great.
didn't you go to art school? Wouldn't they have like
Yeah.
a nice?
We had nice professional galleries in the studio space, in like my school spaces, but it would be nice to be like, ooh, I have like a show on Tremont. Guys,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
out. Like, that's like really cool. Like, here's a
To all your
flyer.
little friends. Yeah.
And like, some artists are, like, some younger artists are able to do that. There was kind of a big kind of spurt, like, back, I don't know, maybe it was like 2017, 2018, when like there's a lot of art parties popping up.
Art party.
Art parties.
I must not be cool because they didn't invite me to no
There was,
goddamn art parties.
just a lot of like in org, like Art Plug was great. They was able to have art shows that were not just about art on the wall. It was also about like young kids getting together and just like having a vibe. And
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
it was just like a space of freedom. And that was something I've never seen before until then in the city of Boston. It felt very New York to me. It was a really cool vibe. But yeah, I think that young artists are now finally like feeling independence and feeling like they can do stuff and there is a future for them to continue this long term. And it's not just like, oh, like I'm the artsy kid at school.
Yeah, because that
Yeah.
used to be a thing. Like, I'm the one artsy kid
Yeah.
at school,
Yeah.
and I'm depressed, and I smoke
Yeah.
cigarettes.
Like, I'll draw a picture for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we talked earlier about politics, and you said you lean more to, well, you consider yourself a liberal, you know, leftist. And then you did comment on Joe Biden falling asleep on TV.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people aren't willing to go there. You know, like if you lean all the way to the left, you're never able to criticize what the left does.
Well,
And
I
I-
don't necessarily consider Biden completely left either.
Okay.
I definitely think that Democrats are often seen as like liberal, but that's not necessarily all.
Not a fact.
Democrats.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm registered as a Democrat because I want to be able to vote for them in the primaries and those types of things, and that's why I'm not independent and all that jazz. But like, obviously there's a lot. You can get a lot more liberal than what Democrats be doing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I just think in the world we live in today, where I feel like you have to pick a side, and if you don't pick a side, you're automatically on the right side. Does that impact the art world at all? Because I feel like...
Yeah, I would say like as a kind of industry, I would say it's more left, right? As artists, we're more left, and that's kind of just a fact.
Yeah.
I don't know too many right-wing artists. However, obviously they exist because, you know, George Bush is a painter.
I did not know George Bush was a painter.
So like they're out there. But in a sense of like political correctness and like acceptance and the idea of like identity and things of that nature, I would say that, you know, the arts world is fairly accepting. And I think that's why also I feel so at home and drawn to, you know, the arts community and the arts world in that way. I think a lot of like, you know, the kids at our school that are in my class, they're the more artsy kids and the more liberal kids. They're like all of the kids that are in the GSA, and like there's a lot of overlap there, and like, which I love. Like I love being a part of the GSA and like being like, you know, part of the anime club and things like that.
Yeah, and that's what they're all like right there.
Yeah, but there's like more to that. I mean, when I was in high school, there felt like there was a big separation between like the kids that liked anime and then like the like. We thought we were like the cool VAs that like we were like the cool visual artists that, you know, like we like graffiti and like we liked, you know,
thugs and rebels.
Yeah, we were doing other art. Like we were doing all that. So I definitely think there's like sides to, you know, everything, right? But yeah, I'm definitely
Does
like
that ever
criticize.
Does that ever collide? Because I feel like maybe this is just me. People in the hood really believe they lean to the left, but they do share a lot of right policies, and they, you know, talk like a person from the right. So does that ever collide with some of your audience or some of your friends who are very hood, but you're a very left person?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, we've had interviews where people have said some things that I haven't agreed with. You know, when I did more recording in person, you know, I was very, like, open to folks doing what they wanted in my home, like, to, you know, get themselves up. Like, not, like...
He said, yeah, it's all cool.
Yeah.
Not that much,
He
but,
said,
like...
yeah, certain art.
They could drink and smoke if they needed to. That was my point. Nothing more than that.
Yeah. We know what you are this earth. Let's shoot it up.
That's too much. That's too much for me. But yeah, I mean, like, things have been said that are definitely, like, you know, when it comes to identity politics, that I've kind of had to be like, like, whether that being around, you know, some kind of racial kind of, not slur or phrasing may not be understood. I think that happened in, like, earlier when we were just talking about, like, Asian folks being a part of the people of color.
For people that don't know, I just learned that Asian people are part of the POC. I didn't know it.
Now you know.
I was treating them wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Y'all.
But like, you know, I think that there's a lot of there's a lot of divide between Black folks and Asian folks, unfortunately, in hoods, specifically in hoods, and I think that came up earlier too when we were talking about like, you know, hair stores being primarily run by Asian folks, but predominantly patroned by Black folks, right? Same with like, you know, we can go back to like Watts and like all this crazy stuff. Like, we can get into it, right? But unfortunately, there is that divide, and I really wanted, when I'm talking to artists of color, I really want to be inclusive, right? When I talk to all artists of color, and I want everyone to feel that, I want everyone to feel seen. And unfortunately, some folks, when they speak, they're not quite aware quite yet about how to...
Because people could grow.
Yeah. But, I mean, I've never censored anyone, right? That's what they've said. Right, that's not what I've said.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing out hate speech. If it ever went crazy, obviously I would have cut it. Yeah, you know, I'm not. Yeah,
you're not gonna let somebody rant on about hate.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen. But you know, it has happened.
no, I mean, I bet you it has. It's hard not to. I think, and it's just crazy to me because I just remember when that Stop Asian Hate came out, and somebody. We know, had made a really good point. They were like, I never seen Asian hate. I always grew up with Asian people in power. And at first I thought they were being ignorant. But then I had to sit back and like, no, that's his life. His whole life he's seen Asian people have stores.
Yeah, you can't tell somebody different that he's seen. You know what I'm saying?
It's
just that's the two-way street of it. It's like if he experienced it, then that's what he's gonna say. He ain't being ignorant.
He's not being.
That's what he's seeing.
He's always seeing Asian people. Time is up.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go fix it real quick.
Yeah, we're almost done. We're almost get out of here.
No, okay.
Yeah, no, Asian people, are people of color is a shock news to me. I've never said, yo, I'm about to bring my black lady here to come to this Asian person.
Well, I've had a lot of Asian guests, and we support the Asian community at Hoodgrown Aesthetic.
Yes. Let me say, I love the Asian. I love the Asian community. I was really confused with people that were being violent towards Asian Americans. I was like, you're beating the wrong Asians. That's like
the wrong one.
Well, because the whole thing was like they started COVID or something. That's what stupid people were saying.
It's a crazy ignorance.
But I'm like, if you're really mad, you would go to Wuhan where the leak happened, and you would beat Asians there. You wouldn't beat teammates, Asian Americans.
Yeah.
Now,
that was stupid.
We live in a very confusing, crazy time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot of dumb people out there.
But I also think, and this is me not to agree with racist people, I also think everybody has to listen and stop getting so fired up so fast. Stop getting so mad and stop tuning out so fast. Because like I lean a lot to the left, but I feel like I've seen people to the right treat people to the left insane. I'm like, you can't treat a person like that. Doesn't matter what their view is. But then vice versa. Just because this person's view is to the right doesn't give you the right to start wilding and disrespecting or assuming.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Why yes and no?
You know, if someone's walking down the street with a pro-Trump T-shirt on and like "Make America Great Again" hat, doing all that, I'm not even gonna speak to you. Right? I'm ignoring you.
I'm with you on that. But
you're not a real person to me. That's how I see that. I'm like, you're a buffoon.
You're a buffoon.
That's it.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But you know, I'm a comic, and a lot of comics don't always lean to the left. They say wild shit, and so you're definitely gonna run into a right wing comic.
Oh yeah.
And are you gonna sit there and punch every right wing comic in the face, or is you just shut the fuck up, have a conversation? Because you might realize, like, I mean, motherfucker, his whole family's always been Republican. He don't know nothing but Republican, and now he's like, yo, my party sucks, but I'm still Republican. I don't agree with the left, but I don't agree with.
I mean, I know Dominican Republicans. I know they out there.
Cubans. You in Cuba, like, they love Trump in Cuba.
Nah, those Cubans left. The white flight was real in Cuba. That's why when you go to Cuba, it's actually a lot of black folks, and people don't realize.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, because all the white folks left, and they went to Miami. and
motherfuckers in Miami love Trump.
Yeah, and then all the black Cubans stayed.
Florida's his shit. He be in Florida. He be chilling with Floridians.
Florida's a wild ass place. Florida.
Yeah, I got COVID from there like last year, and I had to just
Florida is a wild ass motherfucking place. But yeah, no, I just think I'm trying to write a joke about racist people not being bad people, and it's so hard. It's so hard because you're just like. It starts off with me. I'm talking about like when is appropriate to be racist, and I was. Like, because there are times when it's appropriate to be racist. There is. I think
It's appropriate to be stereotypical. I mean, to like make, I don't know, assumptions about some. To be street smart.
To be street smart, it could probably save your life. But you know, I had this bad example. Like if you were in Vietnam fighting a war, and you were being shot at by Asian people, and you were told to shoot and kill Asian people. When you got home, you probably had a problem.
Yeah, but
with Asian people.
that's POC. I mean, like that's what you call it, post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's just like the problem with war.
Yeah, no. You saying that's a problem? You're hilarious.
But like honestly, I mean, you don't have to tell a racist person they're a bad person. They sure do know that.
Yeah.
That's the joke right there.
That's the. I don't listen. My girl she killed me for making that, for trying to make that joke. I've been working on it for like 3 months. It's still not good. It's nowhere near. Because I'm like, the whole point is like, yo, you could be racist. You could be sexist. You could be racist, but it's a problem when you put it into action. Something like that. I'm working on it. It's not hitting on you either. It's not.
So
it's a bad joke. I'm
it's
working
like-
on
it's
it. I'm
like
working
saying,
on it. I'm working.
you can have the idea of cannibalism in your head, but as long as you don't act on it, you're fine.
I mean, you never committed the crime. Pete, what's word?
Hold on, let me just.
Are you going through sex videos on my phone? I mean, on my shit, bro.
No, because you had mad.
Sex videos?
No, you had mad. What do you call it?
Photos?
Like photos. Yeah.
Oh, you have to delete some?
Yeah, I think it like the weirdo ones.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
The weirdo ones, like
Nah, this
the
dude,
ones
don't delete. Hey, I gotta say.
Weird photos over there.
No, I don't got no weird. I'm just joking. I got no weird photos. I did photography for a little bit. I got paid from it. People liked my work. I didn't like to work on other people's time or their requirements. Where it's
Yeah.
like, you gotta be like this. You gotta just like this. You gotta come. No. Listen, I'm gonna come with a cup in my hand. I'm probably gonna be smoking. I'm gonna come 20 minutes later than you expected. But I'm gonna have everything done by tonight because I'm that crazy. You know, like I'm that crazy.
Right.
And you talked about dabbling in other things. You're a rapper at heart. Have you ever got on the track? And I mean, you went to art school. You probably stepped into a studio one time. And
I mean, when I was in high school, a lot of my friends were singers. I had a couple of singer friends, and I would pretend I could sing with them a lot, but never recorded anything. I rapped my plants consistently, and my cat.
are they healthy?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I got like 80 house plants. I have an obsession with plants. My house is a jungle.
Well, you know what? I like plants because they're alive.
Oh yeah, my house is
And
very
shit you
much
need to take
alive.
care of, too.
Yeah, it's a reminder that I can't just not do anything in my home.
You have to be somewhat productive with goddamn plants. Plants are like
No, you really have
slow-growing
to.
babies.
That's what I'm saying. And you don't want them to die because then it just looks ugly all around your
Yeah.
house. And you pay for that shit, too. Plants are expensive.
Oh
Some
my
plants
god!
Plants are
hella
expensive now.
I got my girl like 3 plants, like $300. I said, "What the fuck do these do?"
Like, literally.
Yeah.
What they going? You gonna pick them up? You gonna eat some?
No.
You gonna turn into a superhero?
The
with that
spiritual
shit?
world got us, bro.
That's what I'm
Some
saying.
crystals and some plants.
Yeah, crystals and
Yeah.
plants. I got a lot of crystals.
Next
and
thing you know, you're
plants in my
fucking
house.
$300 in, and you're like, "Yo, what the fucking crystal? Is this crystal meth that I'm buying?"
The crystals have always been expensive, but the plants now is a new thing. I think it's a pandemic thing. I'm not quite sure why. It's
Yeah,
so,
the
like,
plants is a little new too. Yeah, my
But-
mom be getting all these new ones. Like, what
Yeah.
the, like I gotta take care of something. Now. I'm like, I ain't with this. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
a gardener. Like, shit.
Yeah, but the small ones are kind of affordable. It's like because you want a big gorgeous plant when you start, right? You want this really awesome looking plant, and then you're like, oh, it's $150. But if you got like a little seedling that like
Yeah.
one little leaf, you could easily have that grow for 2 years, and then it will get to that.
Do they? They get that big? I didn't know.
Yeah, they actually do.
Oh.
You feed it properly.
Yeah.
Niggas eating yogurt in the morning. You gotta be big and strong.
Yeah.
You gotta be big and strong, plant.
So I want to ask you real quick. Your bio on your website and your Instagram, you mentioned a lot of list accolades. One of them you mentioned also you're a threat, and I really appreciate it. It's a lot of confidence. So speak on why you market or you bill yourself as such.
Yeah. For one, I think my education makes me a threat as a Black woman to a lot of folks. If you know art institutions and if you know Parsons School of Design, it's a fairly, it's a pretty it's a pretty big deal. And like I've had a lot of folks say to me like, "Wow, that's a nice school," and I'm like, "I know." But other than that, like I mean, I find I find my mind my most valuable weapon, and I think I use it to the best ability, and I think it's really
Can you make things float?
not yet.
Nah, she said not yet. Give her a minute, bro.
I haven't been accepted into Xavier School yet
Hey.
to get that going. But yeah, I as like a shorter statured woman, I like to
Shorter statured woman.
I am short. I like to make my presence known, and I like to make sure that my voice is heard, and I think that's also really important as an artist. I mean, as a teacher, I'm getting like my ideas out there. The little trickles and little words of wisdom that I give my students eventually will disperse and get out in the world and eventually spread into everyone else's ears.
Absolutely.
So, like, that's also an importance to me. But I also, I mean, I really pride myself on my strength, whether that being physically, mentally, or just my ability to keep moving and do a lot.
Now, is that reactive or you're being proactive? Because I feel like for me, a lot of times I'm very confident, and that came from being younger. My older brother always told me, "You're the man. You're the best. Whatever you want to do." And so I've always walked around really confident. But I know for some people, and maybe for a lot of women too, something happened where you felt like, wow, if I'm not always, have my head high, they're going to test me.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, go back. I mean, I'm an only child, so there's that.
Only child.
Me too. Sucks.
Oh, you're only child too, bro?
Yeah.
It's a gift and a curse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
lonely ass people, man.
but you get all the attention.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also that. But when I was in elementary and middle school, I got made fun of a lot. I was a chubby kid, and I got bullied quite a bit.
Did you have glasses still?
I didn't at the time. I had braces.
Oh, they made fun of you for the braces. That's what they
And yeah, so there was like a lot of confidence, like just crumbling at that time. And I kind of realized that I had to make jokes about folks in order for them to like get off of me. So I think my humor was a big part of my defense mechanism as a kid.
God, definitely. I'm with you on that one. That was all. That's all I did.
Yeah, that's all I have, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna fight people. Like,
Yep. I was like, I have small hands.
Yeah,
I was
They're
like,
made for loving, not fighting.
yeah,
So I'm
not
fine.
gonna do that. Like, I'm strong, but I refuse to fight people. And there was that, and then also, like I said, like in college, I felt like at some points I was being spoken over by some men, especially in like my sociology courses. I have a degree in sociology, so I like study, social interactions.
Big dollars.
Yeah, I think that's been a big. It's like really important to who I am as a person. I still think of myself as a sociologist. I'm constantly thinking about how society is run and how we work intersocially and like all of our relationships. And the changes in the city, with there being gentrification and all this other things.
Yeah, there's an influx of them white folks. Pete, influx of them white folks.
Don't look at me, bro. I ain't
but
moving
you know
in
what?
there.
We talk, but you're biracial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're black and white. Mm-hmm. Your mama's white, right?
Yes.
And your dad is black.
Mm-hmm.
How was that growing up? Because I feel like a lot of your work and a lot of the way you talk, it's empowering the black community. Mm-hmm. That never got confusing to you?
Well, I grew up in a very black neighborhood. Okay. So it was, all the kids I grew up with, my best friend, and still my best friend to this day, he's from St. Thomas, so I grew up with a lot of Caribbean kids.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of Somalian kids that lived around us and African-American kids. There was one other biracial kid a biracial family that lived down the street too. They had a black dad and a white mom. So all of us used to hang out, and we were just like black kids.
Yeah.
I felt separate when I was in my white family. I didn't feel that so much in my black family, not intentionally. Yeah. I don't think my white family ever intentionally made me feel that way. It's just like I physically felt just different and looked different. It never was confusing for me, it was always very clear, like, you are both, you know. In the 90s, it was a little more difficult because at that time, folks weren't really sure what biracial quite was still. Like, now it's
I
like...
bet you, like, now people are getting more... I mean, it's more... It's
normal,
like, it's a regular thing.
Yeah.
Because everybody be fucking, but...
Yeah, but then it wasn't like a thing. It was like, oh, your mom looks like this, your dad looks like this. And thankfully, I look very much like both my parents, and I'm very split down the middle in the sense of skin tone between the two of them and things like that. So there was never a feel like I couldn't belong to them. I think they've had experiences where, when I was much younger, you know, where, like, my dad could walk around with me and there was no questions. But when my mom walked around with me, it was kind of like...
Everybody had an eye out, yeah.
Not even that. It was just, like, little stupid questions. Like, when, you know, they would ask my mom if she would take me tanning. Like, dumbass questions like that.
That's, like, the dumbest thing I've ever...
Yeah, like...
Like I said, she got great skin. Do you take her tanning?
And I was, like, 6 months old. Some stupid shit like
oh,
that.
Baby. Oh, baby, out there.
Yeah, my mom's like, yeah, I put the little glasses on her and everything. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
People are so
like,
stupid.
People are so stupid then. So, yeah, like, it wasn't never a thing. I've always identified as black.
But as you got older and you realize kind of how the power structure in this country works, and you're looking at white evil men, did that change your perspective? Did that change the conversations at home with your own family as you got older and knew more?
I mean, definitely in a sense where like I said, when I was younger, like, things like, you know, checking off biracial wasn't a thing, even in like the census and stuff. So like I always kind of identified as black for a very long time because it was like white or black, and I was like, I'm definitely not white. Like, no one's gonna see that.
Yep.
So I'm black. So like when that finally became like a thing, and I could, you know, choose both and all that type of stuff, that was fine. And there's never been like a great divide. You know, in a sense that I feel like I don't know. Like, when I was growing up, yeah, I felt different than everyone else. But, I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
It happens. It happens.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Can you ask the question again?
Because I was just asking about... I forgot. But I was just asking about being biracial and growing... Because I grew up, right? I'm 100% Dominican. When I was growing up, I didn't really care about white people because I didn't see much white people unless they were crackheads. So the older I got and the more I knew about this world and this country we lived in, the more upset and the more questions and the more I kind of looked and judged white people,
right?
Because the more experiences I had. And I just wondered, with you being black and white, the older you got and you were like, well, Christopher Columbus didn't actually discover shit.
Yeah.
And then you look at mom like, Mom, did you know this? Or like you look at your white family, you're like, yo, did y'all know that white people were so evil?
Yeah, like I think thankfully my mother tried to educate herself as much as possible very early, to a point where like I always had, you know, brown baby dolls and all that type of stuff. And, you know, like I was never taught a false history about Christopher Columbus. I was never, you know, kind of taught these false ideas. And even to a point where, like, my white grandmother definitely identified that Jesus is not white. You know, like, this is not, that's not what he looks like. I recently saw a video on TikTok that was beautiful. It's like this girl asked, like, what's the one thing in the Bible that everyone thinks in the Bible and it's not in the Bible? Oh. And then their response was white people.
White people. I saw that when I was down. I saw it this morning.
Yeah, I was crying. So, like, in that way, like, religion, I mean, my white side is Catholic, my black side is Baptist. There's that, too.
Different religions. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so different religions, those types of things came into part. But, you know, my mom's name is Karen.
Oh, Lordy. That's like the worst name to have in the last 2 or 3 years. It's like
not good.
Yeah, as a
she
white
better
woman,
change it to Karin.
Yeah.
You better add an accent somewhere.
Some shit like that. Drop a couple letters.
Said no, the N is silent. It's care.
It's just care. Just care. And I mean, like, her having a black daughter and a black husband and like all of these other things, it's kind of like she's always
it's
said
a shitload of questions.
Yeah, and you know, I'm very critical of white folks, and I think that was also me being half white. I feel like I'm okay to be critical of white folks, and like I think a lot of black folks might think like I'm too critical of white folks, and I'm like, hey, but I'm half white. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm on their side, but I know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's like I'm actually more than half white because of all the rape that happened on the black side.
Shit is getting real, folks. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it.
That's what slavery brings. So yeah, I think like over time I learned a lot. In college I learned a lot, but I was always like fully aware of like the situation and the hierarchy between the two races. But my parents tried to do their best in trying to like show me, you know, there could be idea of equity in the world. But I was aware of it early on. And I mean, like, you know, since I've been called like the N-word by white folks many of times growing up. So like it was kind of clear, the separation.
Yeah, where they were like, I want you to know where you fall. If no one has told you which side you're on, I'm going to let you know today.
I'm just going to let you know.
I'm going to let you know right now.
Yeah, if you had questions, if you thought we were questioning
white folks,
you.
they don't care how old you are. The old mean. I remember I tried to get a job somewhere. Like, this was in Dedham. This is like before like the plaza, the new plaza and all that. I was going to stores. I just walked to the store and this lady was like following me. But she didn't know I was looking for her because I'm trying to find out who worked here. And I was like, I go, yeah, you work here? All this following? Yeah, I'm trying to get a job. And she was like, oh, no, we're not hiring right now. And then I leave. And when I leave, I notice we need like the hire sign at the door. And I'm like, this. And that's
wow, bro. I would have went in there because of tantrum.
I won't lie. I threw like a rock at her window. Because I was so angry. I didn't know how to handle the fact that someone judged me before knowing me. You know what I mean? I was very confused because usually I'm a charmer in person, so I've always felt like you could have whatever views, but once we meet in person, you'll see that I don't give a fuck what your views are. I don't care. I like people. I'm a people person, but that being judged so hard kind of flipped the switch of like, damn, this is a crazy ass America we live in.
Mm-hmm. And that's like it became more clear to me that I know that I very much separate my family from white folks. And I'm aware of the goods and bads in my specific bloodline, right? And I'm aware of the good folks I like, and I separate those folks from. When I talk about white folks in general, I'm not talking about my family.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not
gonna take the shit out of my head. They're on the other side.
Yeah, like I don't even my family ethnically is Lithuanian, which is like a really small country in the Baltic Seas. The Baltic states, and you know, we were treated like shit by Russia. I always consider ourselves like the black folks of Europe. Like, we're all into basketball.
Lithuanians are like basketball players, and no one gave a fuck about them for years until recently.
Yeah, so.
And that's because they had a basketball player from Lithuania a couple years ago.
Yeah, Jonas.
Yeah. And so it's like, besides that, nobody gave a fuck about.
Yeah, so I was like, on that side, we're not like the powerful white folks.
Yeah, you're not the white. You're not the white American.
Yeah, I'm not coming from that. Like, my grandfather is like. My great-grandmother was an immigrant, so not too far off.
Yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, I wanted to ask a couple questions about stuff in the hood that you would consider overrated, underrated, or just rated.
Just rated.
Or just rated.
Like whatever the rate is that.
It's all right.
You're like, whatever. It's whatever.
I ain't getting rid of it. All right. Cool.
All right, let's get it. Hot Cheetos.
I mean, as a vegan, unfortunately, I can't eat those anymore.
You're a vegan?
I know.
Life is tough for you.
I know. But I do love me, like, a hot, like, a spicy chip. I did love hot Cheetos.
Hot chips.
And I couldn't eat it. So, like, there is, like, a vegan version of it. I still eat those. So, yes, hot Cheetos, I'm down for.
The movie Friday or Friday After Next?
Friday After Next.
No, they were all. I loved them all.
I only seen Friday.
I loved them all. There wasn't not one that I can't watch. The show Boondocks.
Oh yeah,
I love that shit. I love that shit. I remember watching that shit on Netflix on my break at high school. I love that shit. I rewatched it again.
Yeah, I'm rewatching it now. They don't care what they say on that show.
That's what I'm saying. Bring that shit back. Bring that shit back.
I was watching it the other day and there was so many F words coming out. I was like, give me a second.
Like, I want a baby Huey in my life. Like, yeah. I want a little baby like that.
And I was watching and I was thinking of that because that's the kind of the vibe you give me. The rebel, still super smart, but still in the hood. Because the hood grown, that's the vibe it was giving me. Sandwiches, chips inside of sandwiches.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For sure. White people.
Overrated.
I think they're overrated.
Currency, like money.
Like money?
Kind of currency though.
Yeah, like we're talking
We got
about,
it.
Well, I'm just saying money in general, and I say that because I feel like money and having money has such a hold on certain communities and certain people that they would do anything and whatever for that money.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I'm not a person who's attached to money, so I was, maybe.
I don't think money is that important. Like, the video of Jay-Z talking about how, like, showing money on the gram is stupid. Like, I think that's definitely valid. I think it's stupid to show you money.
Guys can't get you like that. Guys can't be like, yo, look how much money I got.
Like, stop playing with your money like that, bro. Please, like,
invest it, pay for something.
I know you probably gonna make it back, but don't be throwing it in the water. Don't be throwing it over a balcony into people for the views.
Keep it in the bank. I'm
Keep
sorry.
Like you can't be burning a hole in your pocket like that. It just can't be.
No.
If not, give it to me.
Yeah,
I'll do something with it.
I'll take it. That's what I'm saying. I don't think money's that important. I don't think valuables are all that important. Things come and go. Collect art.
Ketchup on eggs. Last one.
Well, I'm a vegan, so I don't eat eggs anymore. But when I did,
God damn it!
I liked hot sauce on my eggs.
Oh, she said, "Fuck the ketchup."
I'm not a ketchup person.
She was like, "I am black."
Just to prove it. Just to put a period on that.
Oh God! You know what? I love this interview.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
this was
amazing.
This was great. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think what you're doing for the young artists in the community. Like, if no one said thank you, we say thank you. We appreciate it. Especially, being a teacher of color, and then being cool.
And inspiring children like that.
Yeah, I'm like, well, teachers, like, when I was growing up, some teachers, they weren't cool. They weren't, like, a cool person outside of their job.
They just wanted to teach.
Yeah, well, you only knew them as a teacher. Right. You know what I mean? And you never cared to explore them. And I feel like your personality... your range as well, because you're a person who loves hardcore hip hop, as you can hear in the intro. The intro is so dope, and I love that you've carried it on for every single. I feel like people usually kind of get scared and doubt it and take it off.
No, that's our theme song.
You've let it run from episode fucking one to all the way through.
Yep, to 112.
and so, like, thank you for that. Thank you for keeping those moments of raw hip hop, of teaching the youth of art and teaching us and our students having a pinpoint, someone to go to when they want to explore that. Because I feel like now we're in the era of hip hop and everybody can sing and everybody can dance and you can TikTok and all that. But where's the kid that wants to sculpt? Where's the kid that wants to perform?
Paint.
Yeah, paint. Where's the one who wants to explore himself? Like, where and who does he go to?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Anybody want to shout out real quick? This is a segment we like to use to shout out anybody you haven't mentioned, we maybe haven't mentioned.
And then plug in your IG
and all that
and your website.
Where they can find you, all that good stuff.
So I would like to shout out Vaughn, Edcar, and Steph, my team. Vaughn is featured on the show. She does a segment with me called What's the Word with Vaughn, and she catches us up with events in the city. She also has a great Instagram, I Got You, where she catches everyone up on weekly events, which is great. Edcar is my research assistant, my research consultant, which is really dope to have. And we also have Steph, which is our photographer on staff, and she's also an amazing baker. You should check out her.
Shout out! Oh, she's a baker.
Yeah, she makes the best Persian love cakes.
Bakers are evil, man. They're evil.
What is that? A Persian? Ooh, that sounds good.
It's so good. It's like rose and cardamom. It's so good. Yeah. It's a beautiful cake.
Sounds crazy.
I gotta start trying new food.
Yeah,
and shout out to your team. You have a diverse team, and not like just in the color, but like in the people. Like if you read their bios, and then you also could just look at them, and it's a very diverse group. And I love that, by the way, because I feel like some people think diversity is just in color, but it's not. Like in gender and stories, and I love the collective.
Yeah, and you should, if you want to check out more about the team, you can check us out on hoodgrownaesthetic.com. That website.
You can buy stuff. You can check out the content.
Yeah,
it's fire.
Lots of things you can connect there. You'll see everything. Honestly, you can connect with us on Instagram that way. You can connect with us on whatever platform you listen to podcast. You can Hoodgrown Aesthetic, or you can check us out on the website, and it will connect you there.
And what's your IG?
My IG is Daughter of Contrast. You can check me out there.
Pay her, book her for some shit. Give her money.
Yeah.
Put money in the pockets of the
Host things.
community.
I like to host things, so if
Exactly.
you like my voice, you want me
Absolutely.
to talk, I got you.
Now,
She got mad tattoos out here, fancy bracelets.
Yeah, I'll be golden. I'll be shining.
You see it shining, balling.
Alex, you give a good shout out, bro.
Listen, the first shout out I want to thank is shout out to me for working hard. I love me.
Family man, eh?
I love me for working hard and taking care of myself, taking care of my family. Doc, thank you for coming today. It meant a lot. I wanted to get you originally on my podcast like 2 years ago, and trust me, the world was crazy. I wasn't even
But
good
we
enough.
here now.
I wasn't good enough, but I'm here. You're here now. Thank you for coming. This was a
course.
dope interview. We're probably gonna have you again some other time in the future because you're probably gonna blow up and do amazing things. And I'm like, yeah, don't forget about it. Don't forget about it. Hey, put me on. Put me on.
we see it. Episode 52. This you.
Yeah. Come on. Don't do me like that. Pete, thank you for coming. Mike, I know you couldn't be here, but you wanted to. Thank you for the team. Thank you, God. You ain't nothing bigger and better than Jesus Christ. Hit it.
Sir, amen. Bro, I got to shout out everybody who's been rocking with us over the past year. We coming up on 1 year of Say That. We've been here live for almost a year. But yeah, I got to shout out all the hard workers we met, all the creatives. Doc, thank you so much. This was a very informative, insightful interview. We haven't had many interviews like this type of time.
We never had somebody who was an expert in art. You know what I mean?
Expert in art, just was like, you know what, this is how it be. This is how it is.
This was a first. And you're so swaggy.
But of course,
I love that jumpsuit.
Shout out Mike Sanchez. He ain't here. Whatever. He here in spirit, though. He always in spirit.
He here in spirit.
Follow us on the gram.
The My Pillow guy. He's with the Trump My Pillow guy. That's what's fucked him up.
Yo, he was looking like Spanish James Bond the other night.
Yeah, he was looking good.
But follow us on the gram. Say _that_pod. Follow us. We got a showcase coming up. Come to
Friday.
that. That's right. No, this Thursday.
Oh, this Thursday.
Thursday. But I'm Repeat. That's Remy. For Doc. Don't say this.
Say that.
Thank
you
y'all.
for popping out.